Hi everyone, so today's video is going to be me talking about my pigmentation. Now, I was going to do the video when I wasn't wearing any makeup, but that meant that I just kept putting this video off because I didn't have time to just film it on a day where I wasn't wearing any makeup and still looked presentable, and it just wasn't working out very well for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few pictures of myself with no makeup at the end of this video so you can have a look. But you know what I look like without makeup. I come on here without makeup quite often in my vlogs. You can always see me without makeup. It's not a secret what my skin looks like, so I didn't think it mattered that much. But a brief history about pigmentation. There are lots of different types of pigmentation. You can have melasma, you can have just pigmentation, you can have hyperpigmentation, you can have sun damage. They're all slightly different causes, slightly different, it looks a slightly different way. But what caused my pigmentation was a hormonal problem with the pill. So I started taking a new pill. I started taking Hydroquinone, I think it was, and it caused me to have pigmentation problems big time. Before that I was on a pill called Binesse, which then they stopped making, and I had no problems with my skin at all. Started that one and it just flared up instantly. Now, I do think there is something to be said with certain skin tones being more prone to pigmentation than others. So if you have a kind of like Middle Eastern type of complexion, I do think you're more prone to it than somebody who is very fair skinned or even like very olivey. I think if you're somewhere in between, that does have a contributing factor. I'm somebody who is very kind of moly on my body. I've got tons and tons of mold and freckles. If I go in the sun, I get very freckly on my nose. My skin is just prone to that. It's like an overproduction of melanin or whatever, and it just, my skin just leans that way anyway. But the pigmentation definitely was caused by being on the pill. I know this for a fact. Now the reason I'm stating this is because if you go to your GP, or maybe it was just me and I was unlucky with my GP, and you try and say to them that this is causing you pigmentation, they will fight you on it so hard. I've been trying to get a referral to see a dermatologist to tackle my pigmentation for years, and they just refuse, and I can't justify spending £300 to go and see a private dermatologist who then will charge me loads more for whatever other things they suggest. There are certain things that you can be prescribed, like hydroquinone and that kind of thing. I know in the US that's a very commonly used ingredient. It's a little bit more dodgy here in terms of how much they'll give you. It's difficult. My boyfriend's sister actually was prescribed it from the dermatologist, and she got rid of like a lot of her kind of sun damage that way, and it worked really well. It's a little bit more tricky here, but I definitely want to see a dermatologist and see what they have to say. But my doctor, and I've seen different doctors and the nurses or whatever, seem to kind of refuse to acknowledge that the pill can cause pigmentation. They say to me that it's sun damage. It isn't sun damage. Explain to me how I lived in a hot country my whole entire life and didn't have sun damage. Moved over here and I wear sunscreen every single day, probably for the last 10 years, and I got sun damage in one specific area. Like, no, it doesn't even make sense, but whatever. So I definitely think it's something that's very difficult to kind of deal with if you're trying to get help from like the doctors and all of that kind of thing, because they refuse to take on board what you're saying very often. Now, I did manage to speak to a nurse who kind of got on board with what I was saying and said that what I should try and do is go on a different pill that has a different hormone compilation, and basically has a lot more progesterone rather than estrogen, and that will help control it. She was right, it has helped it fade a lot. It's still not completely gone, but it has definitely helped it fade. And the only downside to that is it's a type of pill where you don't get periods and all that kind of thing. It's a little bit difficult. If you want me to do a video about my experience with the pill and that kind of thing, by the way, let me know and I will do that, because I think that's quite an interesting topic. Maybe like a woman to woman type of thing. So yeah, I've been on that pill for a year and a half. The one that they changed me on, and it has taken a while for my pigmentation to fade. Now, if you look at my face very closely right now, I have got makeup on, but I've got a very light coverage foundation on, and I haven't got any concealer on my pigmentation. So my pigmentation areas were here, here and a little bit on my forehead. Now my forehead one's pretty much gone. My cheek ones have pretty much gone, apart from a little bit that I've got on the side of my cheek up here and a little bit still here. The lip one is just a pain in the arse and refuses to go away. I've had that one for a while. I actually developed that one when I was on holiday, when my pigmentation had started. I was very careful about the sun, but you know, it was really hot and we were in Malta or whatever, and it happened how it happened. So what have I been using and have found very helpful? The first thing I did try in terms of pigmentation last year was the Retinal Reface from Indeed Labs. This worked very, very well for me. The second time around I'm not finding it as effective, but the first time around I did find it evened out my skin tone a lot, and it helped with any kind of little bits of pigmentation that I had, and it did help to fade them a little bit. So that was something that if you've got a very light pigmentation, retinol can help with. It's not the best ingredient to be using for pigmentation. There are other ingredients that work a little bit better, but it's definitely a good starting point. So that's something to bear in mind. I did try loads of sort of things like, not over the counter, but like, you know, random products from like Garnier and things that were supposed to help. Didn't really. And it's generally a known fact that anything you can buy in a shop isn't going to be as effective as something you could get given from a dermatologist. But a few things that I found really, really did help with my skin have been these two products, and it's the alpha arbutin from The Ordinary and the advanced retinoid 2%. Using these every day, this one first and then this one, have dramatically helped my skin, helped even everything out, and but this particular one is a great one for pigmentation. Now another thing that's supposedly great for pigmentation is this, which is the Azelaic acid. I didn't find this really did very much. It was a great texture and everything, nice for oily skin. I didn't find it was great at making my pigmentation fade as well as these two products in conjunction were. So it's something to bear in mind. Another product that I was given to try that I really didn't find did very much for me at all, and I was surprised because it's a brand that is very much driven by results, is this, and it's the Paula's Choice Skin Transforming Multi-Correctional Treatment, and it says it lightens skin colour, lessens breakouts, fades brown spots and reduces wrinkles. Sounds great. I didn't find this did very much for me. So make of that what you will. Different types of skin obviously respond better to different types of things. I definitely think that retinol and the alpha arbutin are the way to go for my skin personally. I do still dabble with this and the azelaic acid, but I just don't find that they did very much for me. Vitamin C is a great product to use if you do suffer from pigmentation as well. I try lots of vitamin C products and I find it a bit problematic. I don't tend to like the texture of them and I find it off-putting. The Ordinary one, the texture of it just made me want to be sick. It was so grainy and horrible, but something to bear in mind if that is something that you're tackling. So I hope that gave you information that you needed regarding my experience. If you want me to talk more about it and all of that kind of thing, I will. In terms of makeup and covering pigmentation, the only thing I found that covered it well enough when I had it was the Vichy Dum Blend Concealer Stick. That's the only recommendation I've got for you. Nothing else worked as well. So I want to know all your experiences down below. Everything. Let's chat about this because it's a very interesting topic and there's lots of information out there and there's lots of misleading information out there, and I think it's a really important conversation to have. So let me know if you've got any recommendations for products as well that you found helped, and I will see you soon.